So, hi Matt, and
Hello.
thank you so much to answering our questions. My first question is about legendaries. Is there a 4-piece cap for legendaries? So, if you have 4, can't you get another one, because it's a widespread rumor about this topic?
No, we don't have a cap on how many you can get right now. It's open for you can actually have all of them drop.
Okay, great.
There's actually, I believe, there is one guy in the world who has all of them.
What? All of them? I mean, I have 4, but okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Four is a lot.
Will you then change anything in the way legendaries are obtained? Because especially for some people, they in some classes, some are very overpowered and give them a very huge DPS increase. And I mean, I got first Sapphire Secret and Magnum Opus, and it was a little bit disappointing. So, is there any change of plan?
Yes, in 7.1.5, we're actually taking a look at some of the legendaries that may not have been tuned as well as we would have liked them to be, or maybe the design wasn't quite working out. So we're taking a look at some of the more underwhelming ones and giving them a bit of a kick. So don't delete your legendaries, everyone, please, please.
At least you can't disenchant them. Will there be legendaries that you can upgrade, or will they upgrade automatically until 7.2?
So we actually have a system, I believe it's coming out in 7.1.5, where we always want to make sure that your legendary is the top item level of whatever content you're performing. So there will be a small, I believe it's one quest that lets you get an item that powers up your current legendary to the next max level. I believe that's 7.1.5 actually.
Okay.
When Nighthold unlocks, it will kick up to the Nighthold.
So you have do the quest line and can only upgrade one or all of them?
You can repeat.
You can repeat
the quest
those.
line.
Oh, okay.
So you can choose the one you want to upgrade first, and then if you have extras, you can get them.
And new legendaries will automatically have 920?
Correct.
Oh,
Yep.
That's pretty much obvious.
And
Okay.
there will be new legendaries too. So.
New legendaries. That was my next question. So new legendaries all on the way. Great. Okay, then let's talk about 7.1.5. You mentioned it earlier. Do you have a release goal for this patch before or after the holidays?
We don't have a release date yet to announce. It's one of those the content itself is what we'll figure that out when we want to do it. But the pieces that are in it could be released at any time. We don't really have there's nothing that ties us to a specific date. So just try to figure out what's in it first.
Okay, and about the micro holidays, I like the idea, by the way.
Yeah.
Is there any micro holiday you love the most? Because perhaps one we don't spoke yesterday about.
The 4 that were mentioned, I think it was 4 that Ian mentioned yesterday.
Yeah, boats, and
yeah, Boat
the other
Day.
ones.
I love Boat Day is my personal favorite name for a holiday. I just think it's on the nose. I'm excited for actually Encourage Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of, the first thing everybody thinks of is, oh my God, how much linen am I going to have to farm and hand in, and who am I going to hand it to, and all that stuff. It's not what it's going to be about. Like we want to capture that feeling, that like the nostalgia. But what I love about it is the reward for it is just that your faction gets to fly a flag in Silithus, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when I remember I was in the hall yesterday when Ian announced it, and the whole crowd just went, oh, like, okay, this matters now, like Alliance and Horde, okay, I gotta get that, we gotta get that flag, we gotta work together. And since it's region-wide, it'll be our first, like, kind of attempt to see if we can do this, almost this race between the two. So that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. So we love the return of the Brawlers Guild, but normally those fights are designed for DPS or perhaps tanks. But what is for the healers? Are there new encounters for healers as well?
Each boss, we try to make sure that everybody can do it. It may be that it's easier to play a DPS spec than it will be healer. I don't know of any bosses specifically that we made that only healers can do, because the nice thing, I mean, one of the things that we do have as a fallback in WoW is everyone has a DPS spec that they can switch into. Not everyone has a healer spec they can switch into, so we try to focus it more on, trying to make it sure that anybody can do it, but sometimes we have to fall back to, maybe you have to do this as DPS.
Okay. So let's talk about the Nighthold. It's the next raid content, or no? The next raid content is trial of Valor, but
second.
You know, do you have a timetable for Nighthold? Is it tight yet, or is it in fluid?
I think for us, it's Nighthold. I mean, all the bosses, everything was made in when we launched Legion. So for us, it's more about trying to get the timing right of when it comes out. I think we've said early January is when Nighthold will unlock.
Yeah. Okay. Will you hold back Music Plus this time longer? Because with a higher item level, because what those top guilds are willing to do is a little bit insane, and I think also had a little bit an impact of the kill on Xavier's.
I think we're always looking at what things we can do to improve. In that particular case, we've seen our top-end guilds tend to do a lot of things that most people wouldn't do. We see a lot of split rating, or we see ways for them, and they'll take advantage of anything they can do and what they could possibly do. Mythic Dungeons actually became a this is cool because they're actually progressing in content that's more difficult. They're really stretching out. They're not just doing something repetitive. They're trying to push it and see how far they can get. So it's kind of a cool thing, to be honest, to see that parallel, one system feeding into the other.
Okay. One practical question: will there be a new bonus seal for Nighthold, or could we use the current? And yes,
you'll use the current, the current seal for Nighthold.
Okay. About Music Plus, how do you gonna change Music Plus when Nighthold came out?
So
new item levels.
Yeah, we'll be increasing the item level of the gear from the top tier Mythic Pluses.
Yeah.
I think we're actually going to do that right before Trials of Valor comes out. We're also going to add a couple more levels of gear, just so that it can keep up and we can keep them competitive. And then Nighthold I don't know the top right now, but Nighthold will continue on past Mythic 10 as its upgrade levels.
Yeah, it's at the moment it's I guess the heroic item level. Will it always stay at the heroic item level, or the goal?
I think that's the way it worked out for Legion. I think we'll evaluate it each time.
Okay, and the chest, I guess, will also get an upgrade.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Then are there some affixes you want to change? I mean, I hate necrotic as a tank, so
I think. Again, we're always looking for new ones, and then if we find new ones we like more, we'll actually swap them out. But I think actually we're pretty happy with the way they've turned out. We may do some small tweaks here and there to them, but what we like about them the best is I think everyone has their own. Whether you play DPS or a tank or a healer, you kind of have your own hatred towards one of them, and you hate that one. And I think that's actually really strong. So, except everyone hates teaming.
Okay. About artifacts, I'm not quite sure. Do you have maxed the total artifact? I mean, not only the 34 traits, also the additional 20, I guess, to get those new traits that Ian introduced for 7.2.
Do you have to overmax it?
Yeah. Do you have to max all the 20 points even to get the new points? You're rolling out.
We're looking at we're not quite sure yet, I think is the right answer. We're looking at whether or not we want to make sure that anybody who plays Legion now and is spending points doesn't have any moments of regret when they get into 7.2. They should always feel confident spending your artifact power and unlocking things, and then how those new things will unlock will just fall into that naturally. So there shouldn't be anybody holding back on spending anything. They should feel free to do it, and we'll make the system work.
Okay. There are some DPS classes, pure DPS classes. I guess they a little bit hate this system because, if you playing a fire mage, you were in a good spot in the beginning of Legion, but after the recent hotfixes and the buff for frost mages, some of them want to change to frost, and it's a little bit not pain, but it's not. Sure. Will there be a system you can, for a spec, change the artifact power in a weapon in the future? Have you considered a change in that?
So I think the core problem there is actually whether or not you can catch up. And I think that like whether or not you have a second artifact that you're trying to build up versus, you know, this is the first time I'm playing and I haven't leveled those, you know, I haven't leveled up all the way and I may be at a disadvantage. We're looking, I mean, we always look at every system. I think for right now, knowledge ends up overcoming a lot of those ways. Like I know for my character, I spent all of my, I play a different class every expansion actually. So it's like I actually play usually 2 classes each expansion because I can't make up my mind. So so my current spec I was really happy about, but then I started switching into a different role and it was actually pretty fast catching up because the way knowledge works, the way the scaling works, it doesn't take nearly as long as it used to get the same artifact power in another item. So because it naturally does that, we're waiting to see if there's something else we need to do.
Yeah.
But nothing to announce yet.
So not right now.
Not
okay.
Right now, yeah. That's a better way to say it.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I play a tank, and I started with a monk, and then take it back because monk is not that good in Legion. But my question is about DPS among tanks. The paladin right now is a little bit the shining star. He can do more DPS than all the other tank classes. Are there any plans to change this particular problem? I would call it a problem. I play in Demon Hunter now.
Sure.
So if you have a paladin who can double your damage, or no?
I think we always look at balance. I think this particular question is, you know, we don't just look at damage numbers. It's also we look at utility. We look at, you know, how much damage they take, how much healing they need to take in order to be viable. It's always a discussion. It's never we're never, I would say we're never happy with the way things are. We're always looking to make improvements and make things better. 715 is our first opportunity to really come back and say, okay, well, can we balance these out and make sure that we're happy with where they go, or at least happier than we are now? Because we don't stop making changes. We always want to make things better for our players.
So, but you have no specific details on tanks, or have you any other balance news for us? I mean, Ian mentioned some, but have you any other news, perhaps?
I don't have anything at this time. I think it's one of those things where, as we find, like we're kind of right now filling out what we think are problems, like what are the things we actually want to solve, and then the iteration that comes out with those it's an involved process that takes a lot of time. When players see the 715 PTR go up, which will be, you know, sometime after BlizzCon, I'd love to get feedback from people. I'd love to hear if, you know, did we address the thing you wanted? Is there, you know, are there other things we can do? And we'll definitely be listening to all those.
So right from the beginning, there will be a bunch of changes on the PTR.
There's going to be some changes on the PTR. It's not the full list of everything we want to do because we'll keep making things, but I think players will see a list of changes that they do have that they can look at and give us feedback on.
Okay.
And play too, which is important.
Yeah. So let's step back from the classes, I guess. It's better to wait for the PTR. For 7.2 on the Broken Shore, we could choose between 3 things we can build in a base. Is this server-wide? So has the server to choose one of those, or is it character-wide?
It's actually region-wide.
Oh, region
is what we're looking at.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, it is the sense of the world and the players working together. That's kind of like the initial idea of it, and we'll see if we can, we'll see how it plays out and how we play testing it and really honing it in. But we want to make sure that the world feels cohesive. It's something that, you know, Legion has been about since we started, is bringing this outdoor world back and, you know, having players in the world. And so we don't want it to be this case where I have a building and you don't have a building, and then we end up in this, you know, can I see you? The world starts feeling fragmented. So the only way to not fragment the world, especially in a CRZ world, is to say, it's for everybody. So so we'll see. It's an ambitious thing, but I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah, it's the same thing like the Anchorage
it's
holidays.
Similar. It's similar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's perhaps obvious, but is there a tier 20 raid set in Tomb of Sargeras?
Yeah, there will be. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll definitely do another set for everybody.
Will there be new world bosses on this isle? And will the old world bosses also get an upgrade? I mean, Ian mentioned the dungeons, but the world bosses?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know actually about world bosses. We will add new ones. It's not a matter of like if we do it. Those guys love making world bosses and they love putting them around.
Yeah.
Crazy mechanics for them. So we'll have them. We'll have new ones for sure. I'm not sure if we'll bring the old ones up. It's something to consider though.
It was pretty irritating if you were on the Legion beta server and say, how 9 world bosses? I mean, okay, now we get this, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, speaking of loot, will there be the loot from World Quest can now Titanforge to 895? Will this continue in the future? Are you happy with the system, or will you not let it go to the maximum level?
We don't want to maintain like multiple caps of where item levels can go. So when we come out with 7.2, everything will be able to Warforge up, Titanforge up. I think we've been pretty happy with it. I think players, the thing we were worried about is like, does it mean that higher level content isn't worth doing because I've gotten something that's higher? And in some extent that can happen, but I think it's not as overshadowed as we thought it could be. We'll keep looking at the tuning of it though too. That's something like, as I said, we always see problems in everything we do, so we're always trying to find ways to make it better. The tuning of it will be something we keep looking at and keep trying to dial in to feel right. But I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the crafting system in 7.2?
Sure.
Because Ian mentioned nothing about this.
Yeah, he didn't talk much about it, and that's partly because we have everything. We look kind of at one stage at a time.
Yeah.
We've just started talking about what we want to do with professions because we have, again, a lot of ideas and trying to find the right thing to do. We will have a new tier of gear and professions. We're not sure exactly how that's going to upgrade, whether it uses an obliterum, whether there's maybe a different system that we use instead. Unsure yet, but we want to make sure that blacksmiths, tailors, leatherworking, those guys, you'll actually see in the panel today. They'll have some more information about that as well and go into more detail about it. So.
Okay. Will Archimon, not Archimon, Kil'jaeden use his feet this time? I mean, he was in this beautiful Sunwell whirlpool the last time we saw him, and he goes down, but
I think that's something players will have to see. Yeah,
it's a surprise still, okay?
Kil'jaeden feet is the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Ragnar's feet first, now Kil'jaeden's feet. Even he has feet, obviously. I know you mentioned Argus just a little tiny bit. I mean, it was widespread speculation, but can you tell us perhaps a little bit about the scale of Argus? I mean, it seems so, oh my god, they don't go to Argus in this expansion. It must be an own expansion. So can you tell us a little bit about the scale of the world?
I can't talk too much about the scale, and that's a lot of those details were, it's still in the works. But I can say it is a 7.3 feature, not a next expansion feature. So it is something that we want to introduce in the Legion cycle.
Okay. Good. With the success of Return of Karazhan, can we expect to see more 5-man raids style dungeons?
I hope so. I thought Karazhan turned out really well. I think it's a different type of content and brings that challenge that kind of Mythic Keystones do as well back to the 5-man experience, where you have a little bit more responsibility. It's not, you can't rely on your other healers in order to heal, or you can't rely on your other tank to pick something up. Like, you have to be the guy that does it, or take advantage of all these abilities. So I would love to say we're going to do more. I think it's something we'll keep talking about. The 5-man dungeon that we did in 7.2 with Cathedral of Endless Night is one that will be more of a traditional Mythic dungeon, so it won't be a long raid experience, but it's still going to be a really cool, meaningful introduction to a new dungeon, new place with same mythic scaling that we had before.
And why you hold back Carousel as a Mythic Plus and Heroic version and this 2 times version so long? So I mean, it's coming in 7.2, right?
It's coming in 7.2. We wanted Karazhan to be. We wanted to try this new experience, and like you said, it's almost a 5-man raid as opposed to a 5-man dungeon, which required us to, if we wanted it to be that kind of experience, we couldn't come out with it in a heroic where you can queue in and maybe you don't have the right group for it, or maybe people don't want to spend the time to go through it. Get it pre-made together, work together, and progress through it, which is the right way to play through it in 7.1. In 7.2, we have so many players that they don't want to do Mythic Dungeons. They don't have the group structure. They don't want to, find looking for raid or looking for group or pre-made groups. So we should let them explore it too. And so having a little bit of window between, that Mythic experience to okay, now you can do it as a heroic dungeon. It gives a little bit of time to shine on that top.
Okay, we know you can't outright tell us all the hidden secrets of Legion, but at least give us a hint about the percentage of how many we uncovered so far to give us explorers,
So, to be honest, I don't even know. We have secrets that we came out with, and I went and I was like, wait, we did what? How did this? And that sounds crazy, like that. But it's a team of people who love WoW and love doing things, and a lot of times it's just people follow their passion and put things in. So I'm still excited to see what's in there at times. It's a lot of the hidden artifact appearances are just so like when I read about them later on, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe we actually did that.
This Red Paladin questline. I mean, okay, it's I mean, some people are complaining about hunters only have to go to the shop, and I mean, the hunters are the ones in this story that have to complain, not the Red Paladins, in my opinion. But
and the hunter one is in a different place too, because that was it's a hidden one, but it's actually because there's such a huge like bow versus gun. I never use guns, but I want to play Beastmaster. We actually made it a little bit easier, so that having to find that if you were that kind of player would have been challenging. So.
Yeah, and with all the problems about secondary stats, many people are asking about the return of reforging. Do you have a message for those people?
So when we look at what secondary stats, so with where we are with secondary stats, and specifically secondary stats versus primary stats or versus item level, there's 2 problems that come to mind. One is we want to make sure that when an item drops, that a player thinks it's like, this is an upgrade, this is awesome, I was rewarded for the time that I just spent doing this. The other side of it is this item actually an upgrade? So right now we have both of those problems. Reforging fixes one of those problems. It fixes maybe I can do this little thing to make this item better.
Yes.
But it actually makes the first problem worse. It makes it like every drop is like, okay, that's not good yet, maybe. But if I take that stat and turn to that stat, it could be better. And so I think the problem is real. We are taking steps to address it. I think 7.15 is the right time frame for us to do that. We don't quite have nailed down what we're going to do, but suffice to say, it will be about making sure that item level is more of an indication of how good an item is, and you don't have to rely on secondary stats as much to do so.
Okay, so will there be by any chance a competitive server where we can do some sort of PvE speed races with a spectator mode in dungeons?
It's a cool idea.
Yes, I know.
I like the idea.
5 years ago on Gamescom, so
it's a great idea.
Thanks.
No plans at this time. But I love the idea.
You should do that. So every interview like this, I ask about the end boss of the expansion. It has a little bit of a backstory because I guess 2 or 3 years ago I asked Tom Chilton about the end boss of Warlords of Draenor, and he told me Grommash Hellscream. I know, Grommash is not the end boss. So your opportunity to troll me or the whole community, have you any name for us? Who will be the end boss of Legion? Grommash Hellscream? No.
That's the good answer. No, I don't know right now.
Okay.
I think Grommash was one of those. we talk about a lot of things. We talk about the direction the story is going and trying to find the right person to be the pinnacle moment, the ones that players actually react to. And a lot of times that ends up being, community reactions like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe the actual right idea is to bring Archimon into the fold because he's a much bigger foe than what we thought before. So I think you'll have to wait and see. I think that's,
okay.
We're going to a special place in 7.3, so.
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for answering my questions.
Sure, of course.
Great.
Thank you.